All right. What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Time Out with Doc and Caveman. As always, you are here with Dr. Fantasy and my co host, the Fantasy Caveman. We are at the end of our NBA team previews here. Today, we're going to be discussing the Denver Nuggets. But before we dive into that, I just want to remind to subscribe to our channel on YouTube. Throw this video a like, or if you prefer, we have the audio version available on Spotify and wherever else you listen to podcasts. So you can check it out there if that's your preference. But we appreciate the support. And continuing on with the Denver Nuggets, let's recap last season. They were 47-25, which was good for third in the Western Conference under head coach Michael Malone. A few random team stats. They were 7th in offensive rating, 12th in defensive rating. They had the 6th best 3-point percentage in the league, the 6th best 2-point percentage in the league, and then they were in the bottom 10, 20th overall in 3-point percentage allowed. So defensively, not ideal on the perimeter, and that was one of their the differentiating factors. They were one of the best in the league the year prior, but their perimeter defense didn't quite live up to expectations last season. Individual season leaders, it's not going to surprise you who's on the list a lot. Jokic led the way with points at 26.4, Jamal Murray at 21.2, Michael Porter at 19. Rebounds, you had Jokic at 10.8, Porter at 7.3. Assists, Jokic 8.3. Steals, Jokic and Murray at 1.3. And then blocks, JaVale McGee technically, but he only played 13 games, so really Michael Porter at 0.9 blocks per game. So overall, decent season for the Nuggets. I think they were hoping for more after their big run the year prior, but who stood out to you last season, Caveman?
I mean, for me, it's Monte Morris. And I'm sure, and I know he's a guy that you like as well. I mean, he was really their biggest scorer off the bench last season. And he led the bench in assists with a solid 3 a game. And you talk about, especially when you talk about replacing kind of what Jamal Murray brings to the table, I think Monte Morris was a big part, and he kind of stepped up. He stepped up in the loss of Jamal Murray, and and Marcus Howard stepped up a little bit. I mean,
Ooh.
yeah, Marcus Howard, yeah. And hey, at least now we go into this year, with Marcus Howard's spot on the roster probably being safe. Pretty sure he's gonna. I think he's gonna make the. I think he makes the team. Uh, we'll see, but yeah, Monte Morris was the kind of the one for me that really stood out. I mean, we know what Jokic is at this point. Jokic is a bona fide superstar, one of the top, or maybe one of the top 5 players in the league. So there's really. I'm not saying he's reached. I'm not gonna say he's reached his ceiling. And I think he can get better, but he's already a superstar. So I mean, can he get better? Maybe, but honestly, does he need to? I don't think so. So, well, yeah,
I
Monte.
mean, the guy led the league in efficiency rating
So
last
what do
year,
you
so I don't know what do you
how
want from him.
how much higher do you want? How much better do you want him to be at this point? But yeah, so who do you got here?
Yeah, I mean, Monte Morris is going to be big next season. He's going to be their starting point guard with Jamal Murray out in the beginning of the season. I mean, you have to talk about Michael Porter, right? I
Oh,
mean, everybody's been waiting for him to break through for an extended period of time. He's been banged up most of his career. And man, I mean, he was really good. And without Jamal Murray in the first half of the season, I will close to guarantee that Michael Porter is an all-star next year. I am that confident in what he showed last season, especially at the end of the year. He ended up playing in 61 games, so he did have an overall healthy season. but I mentioned him averaging 19 points, but he has been super efficient from 3-point when he's healthy. His career 3-point percentage is 44%. Last year he was 44.5% from 3-point range, which was really impressive because he was averaging almost 6.5 threes a game. I mean, that's a crazy high percentage. So he's been super efficient when he's been healthy. I also thought it was interesting. He had the 29th best efficiency rating in the entire league. So theoretically, with 30 teams in the league, makes him a number one caliber player. I think the biggest thing that stood out, though, was towards the end of the regular season, he really started to come through. He averaged 24 points in back-to-back months in April and May. So that was a big step in the right direction. So if he continues that momentum into next regular season, this is a guy that I think can average close to 25 points a game with 7 rebounds, playing pretty solid defense with being one of the most efficient 3-point shooters when he's been healthy. I really think that he can be an all-star next year. So, and I think that base, and we'll talk about it when we talk about the moves that they made this offseason, I think the Nuggets believe that they have a championship caliber roster. It's just a matter of them, because this is a young team, and we talked about it when they went on their run, not last season, but the season before, is this is a team that's just counting on the development of these young together. You know, when we're talking about Porter who's 23, I think Murray is only 23 as well. Jokic, I believe, is 26, I want to say. So they're all fairly young and they've been growing and developing together. So I think that that's what they're relying on in this point. Jamal Murray, I think, also does deserve a shout out because people forget after the crazy playoff run that he went on, he hadn't really put together a complete regular season. I think sometimes when players have, similar to Tyler Hero in the bubble, we had these crazy high expectations for him. And then I won't say disappointed, but we wanted to see if Murray could take another step forward, which we did. He had a career high in 3-point percentage with over 40% and a career high field goal percentage on the most shot attempts in his career. So once again, I'm always going to mention when a guy has more volume and he's being more efficient, that's a great combination. And Jamal Murray took another step forward. And that's why I think this is a team that could have been the number one team. I don't care about the Lakers. I think this is a team that could have been the number one seed in the Western Conference if Jamal Murray played the whole season. And it's going to be a team that when we're doing the standings predictions, I'm not going to lie, I might have them going all the way. I love how this team's constructed. I love the youth. I love the defense. I like Michael Malone. They have superstars, youth shooting. I think they have everything that you need. So I'm excited about this team moving forward. But I already mentioned them making some offseason acquisitions. Honestly, there wasn't a lot. This is arguably the most boring offseason of any team that we're going to talk about. So there's not much to say here, but through the draft, they had one draft pick, 26th overall, Nyshawn Bones Highland. I'm never calling him Nyshland again. He's always going to be Bones. So I don't care what
I haven't read into it, but how did he even get that nickname?
I don't even care because it's the greatest nickname ever. So you are Bones Highland, and that's it. He's just Bones. I like that nickname. I haven't read where it's come from either, but I'm sure I think it's been since high school though. I want to say that I saw at some point. So that was our only draft pick. Free agent additions / trade acquisitions. 1. Jeff Green. That's it. That's all they needed this offseason. Their losses, Shaq Harrison, JaVale McGee, and Paul Millsap. Millsap could potentially be a loss for him, but when you get Jeff Green, probably not really. You can probably swap those guys out if we're being honest about it. But, I mean, it goes back to what I said before. They have confidence this is a championship roster. It's just putting it all together and actually going out and doing it now.
Yeah, I mean, there's really, like I said, there's not much to say. I mean, say what you want about JaVale McGee, but especially with Jokic, you're gonna. It's nice to have kind of a good defender next to Jokic because Jokic isn't the greatest defender.
What do you mean? They have Bol.
They have Bol. Yes, that's what we need. Start Bol alongside Jokic, and you're good to go. But I mean, I guess Bones Highland was the highlight with the being their draft pick. I mean, I don't even know. I mean, he might play a little bit with Jamal Murray being sidelined, but I don't even think there's gonna be, even with Jamal Murray sidelined, there's probably not gonna be a lot of minutes for him. But hey, sometimes a quiet off season is the best off season. I mean, Milwaukee made a couple signings, but Milwaukee had a relatively quiet off season as well. So I think when you have the winning formula, you kind of don't mess with it. You kind of just fly under the radar. That's kind of what they did.
Yeah, and then one thing we haven't even mentioned his name yet, but Aaron Gordon did sign an extension with them this offseason, so that maybe was their biggest move. 4 years, $92 million.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty hefty contract there. I mean, they were really good with Aaron Gordon last season, though. He really helped them defensively, and he seemed to be kind of a missing piece for them. I think he brought a lot of athleticism and explosiveness, and they were missing a little bit of that when Jeremy Grant went to Detroit. There was points because I mean people probably don't remember, but they were pretty bad at the beginning of the season last year, where we were kind of saying, is this team going to even make the playoffs for a while? And then we were saying, man, they're really missing Jeremy Grant right now. And then Aaron Gordon came, and they kind of turned it around at that point in the season, and they had a lot of momentum. So that's why, once again, it's disappointing to me that Jamal Murray's out, because I would love to see how everything gels together with everybody healthy and everyone ready to go. So I'm disappointed.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's go to their depth chart then. We've mentioned most of the names by now, but in the backcourt without Jamal Murray, you're going to have Will Barton and Monte Morris listed as the starting backcourt. Behind them, names here. Bones Highland will definitely play some minutes as a really important scorer off the bench for them. He's been known throughout his career to he gets buckets. That's who he is. So he's going to continue to do that off the bench in the beginning of the season. Austin Rivers, Campazzo is still there. Marcus Howard, I don't think is going to get a ton of minutes, which makes me slightly sad, but he should, in my opinion.
He
had back-to-back 20 games at the end of last year.
He should make the team.
He should. A part of me hopes that he doesn't. And the reason I say that is because I'd rather him be a superstar in the G League and prove his worth rather than just rot on an NBA bench. Because if he was a star at the G League, he might see a full guaranteed contract. Because his contract still is a two-way contract. So I hope if he is on the roster that he plays minutes, because I don't want to see him rot, because that's how guys' careers end. So we'll see. Marcus Howard's my boy, and I was happy when he had back-to-back 20-point games. I had to double take when I saw that he was playing and scoring, and I'm like, oh man, they're actually using him. So I was happy. But at the 3, Michael Porter is listed as the starter right now with PJ Dozier and Jeff Green behind him. At the 4 and 5, you're gonna have Jokic and Gordon with Jeff Green, Michael Green, Bol, Zeke Naji all playing behind him. So what do you think of this depth chart overall, K-Man?
I mean, I think I think it's solid even without Jamal Murray. Now the reality is if they want to win a championship, they're gonna need Jamal Murray. But I think as far as regular season goes, I think they'll be okay. I mean, Monte Morris really showed, like I mentioned, Monte Morris really stepped up and showed he can take on some of the scoring punch, and is a solid distributor. I mean, they got solid wing depth, they got solid backcourt depth right now. You mentioned they got solid frontcourt depth. They got depth behind Jokic and Gordon, especially with Porter being able to. Porter can play some 4-2 as well. I mean, they're fine. They got solid depth all the way around. I mean, maybe behind Michael Porter, At the 3, maybe they don't have the best wing depth. I'd say if I had to nitpick and pick something, but honestly, I think they're gonna be just fine. And again, it sounds a little bit crazy to say that because they don't have Jamal Murray, but I think they're gonna be fine as long as they can get through the regular season healthy. Now, if there's a situation where obviously if Jokic were to go down, or even if Michael Porter or Aaron Gordon go down, as long as those 3 stay healthy, I think I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. They have a good mix, as I said in the beginning of the episode, of everything. They have depth in the front court, especially once Jamal Murray is back. I mean, Jeff Green gives them a nice veteran presence, which I think is actually fairly important because this team is even Aaron Gordon's only 26 too. So this is once again a team that's very young overall. And I think a guy like Jeff Green is important to bring that veteran presence. And so yeah, I mean that's an under the radar signing, but Paul Millsap kind of provided the same thing, so it's not necessarily making the team that much better. But yeah, I mean they have depth everywhere. So in terms of where we think they could finish next season, 2 random stats that I wanted to throw out there. They were 16-8 without Jamal Murray, who did miss some time last season. That would have put them still third in the conference without Jamal Murray, which I thought was kind of interesting that their record was that good without him. Not to say that he's not a needed piece, but it seems like they were able to still function at a high level without him last season, and I think that just speaks to the depth of this team. The other piece of it, I mentioned they kind of turned it around with Aaron Gordon, and they were 19-6 with Aaron Gordon last year, which would have been the best record if you take that winning percentage in the entire league last season. So that's why when I say I think this team has championship aspirations, for me personally, I'm going to be very tempted, and I'll have to think about if I want to go this far and break it down further when we do our standings. But in my opinion, this is a team that can win it all. They've also had that taste of almost winning it, and sometimes that taste just stays in your mouth where you want to take that next step forward and it drives you to be even better than you were before. So I think that team being that young and losing in the finals is going to help them long term learn how to win at a high level. So I'm excited at the end of the year when Murray comes back. We'll see when he comes back. The timeline is very unknown at this point. It seems I've seen anywhere from January, February, March. Either way, it seems like it's probably in the second half of the season.
Yeah, and I'm kind of on board with you. I think they can, like, as far as their seeding goes. I mean, even without Jamal Murray, I could see them finishing as the third seed again. But uh, honestly, I don't see them even without Jamal Murray. I don't see them falling below 5. I think they're gonna definitely be in the top 5. Cause you don't. I mean, sure, Murray missed some time last season, but how are they gonna look for most of the season without Jamal Murray? How is that gonna look? Uh, how is it gonna look with having a full off season now with Aaron Gordon there, and now that Michael Porter's kind of burst on, and kind of broke through? How's that gonna look? But the reality is, if they're going to win the championship, they need Jamal Murray. He definitely takes them from being one of the better teams in the Western Conference and kind of making the Western Conference Finals to winning a championship. They do need Jamal Murray for that. I don't think they have enough without him. But yeah, honestly, they're gonna be one of those teams, and they're gonna be when we talk about somebody wanting to take down the Lakers. I really think Denver can do it. Now Jamal Murray's gonna be a piece of that, and he'll have to come back. But and that's similar to what we just talked about with the Clippers with Kawhi. Now, I think the Clippers don't have nearly the depth that Denver does, but when we talk about teams that are going to take down the Lakers, which everybody and their mama wants somebody to take down the Lakers this season, I think it's going to be Denver, or it's going to be the Clippers. So I think Denver is one of the teams that, when they get Jamal Murray back, we're going to be talking about a team that could possibly win the championship. They do have that in them. So I'm excited to see how this goes, because I'm not going to go as far as you. I'm not going to go and say that they can win the they can or they will win the championship, but they can definitely do. It's in the cards for them. It definitely is.
Still no love for Utah. I see how it is. That's all right.
Utah,
And literally nobody's ever talking about Utah, and they were the best team in the NBA last season. But what do we know? The reason I think that Jamal Murray is really big too is so many times with these high-level teams, we talk about who's their third scoring option going to be. I mean, we talked about it with the Lakers a lot last season with Anthony Davis and LeBron. It was who's third behind those two. And I mean, you don't have to answer that question when those three guys are healthy for Denver. I mean, Aaron Gordon can slide into that role, but I mean, at this point in his career, I don't know if that's ideal for Aaron Gordon to be your third scoring option on a championship team. He's shown flashes, but I think he's more of a role player / a high level defensive player rather than a guy you want to be one of your leading scorers if you're trying to win a championship.
Very, very strong number 4 option.
Yeah.
And a very strong, and it definitely could be a solid starter on a championship team.
Yeah, no, I think
you want him being a main one of your 3 top scoring options. I don't know about that, but he definitely could be a very solid starter on the championship team.
Yep, I would agree. So I think that's it for the Nuggets then. We are heading to the very top now. We only have the top 2 seeds in the East and then the top seed in the West to discuss. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube so you don't miss any of that, or wherever you listen to audio podcasts. Throw this video a like as well, and we will see you guys next time.